Cool beans. All right. So, I'll guide you through today, basically like what I consider to be my key 5 pillars. I obviously typically work with women predominantly, but this is absolutely applicable to guys and girls, because I know I get a lot of guys and girls in here as well, and I'll show you all how to customize everything to what you need for like your specific goals. So you'll get all that value on this call, and as you've probably seen, I'm quite a practical, sensible guy. I'll tell you what everything that I know without any crazy diets or restrictions, and making things like really complex. And I've been doing this for about 15 years now, so a long time. And someone said they can't hear me. Can they hear me? Just give me one last thumbs up before I do a long chat. Just let me know that you can hear me. Yeah. Yes. Excellent. All right. Thanks, girls and guys. Good. All right. So if you can't hear me, it's your problem. Sort your mic out or sort your sound out or something. All right. Now, I'm sure you've all seen a lot of the tray bakes, all the easy stuff. So I'll sort of dive into nutrition, training, mindset, results, how to get all of that, how to apply all of that to everyday life. And if you have, last thing, I'll go back one step. If you have any questions, the best way to do this is you can pop them into the chat if you want as we're going along. The best way to do it is if you write them down, and at the end, I will basically get you lots to unmute yourselves, and you can just like fire away. You'll have like plenty of opportunities to ask me loads of questions. Don't be scared to ask me whatever you want, whether it's about me, whether it's about nutrition. It seems really simple. Like there are no silly questions or anything. It could be like, how to use my fitness power, is how much protein do I need, all of this sort of stuff. So just make sure that you ask this, and note it down, and we'll fire through that, and I'll stay on here as long as you need me to. This is how I always typically do it, and I'll hang out with you and ask you questions afterwards. So I'm sure that you'll have loads of questions. Last thing before we get started, if you haven't got my ebook and you want this, people are always like, can I get the discount code, all of this sort of stuff. You can either scan this QR code, and if you type in this, or you can, with this code, you'll basically get like a 50% off. You've got the bundle. If anyone's got ebook too, let them know how it is in the chat. If it's naff and you don't like it, you can tell them. If it's really good and you're like, the recipes are really useful, I use them on a weekly basis and they help me out a lot, you can pop that into the chat as well. But if you basically go onto any of the links, they will and basically plug this early 50 code in. I've left this up for you lot, for anyone who's joined the masterclass, and you'll basically get everything in there, and you'll get loads of extras. And it's got like my fitness pal scanning codes. I've always tried to make this very super accessible to like everyone, and I try to give you as much as I can in there. So a very good resource if you want to make nutrition simple and easy. And everyone's like, when's the third one coming out? I'm like, I'm only human. I can get that out probably late April, May-ish. So keep an eye out for that. But that's ebook 2. Let's get basically into everything. Right. What makes us different? I am not a faddy kind of person. I will try to tell it to you straight. If you have ever worked with me or had a call with me before, I'll tell you what I think is good, what I think is bad, and I don't push like a lot of sort of faddy stuff. Usually the answer is somewhere in the middle. And just a quick bit of context about me. Obviously, it's Oscar's the real star of the show. No one really wants to listen to me talk about food all day. He is my sidekick who's basically just glued to me all day. If you've got a Cocker Spaniel or maybe any dog, you probably know, as soon as you make any noise, he is just following you around. And essentially what I do is I just try to make nutrition simple and easy for everyone. And I try to also show people, not just tell people, right? No fluff, just get sort of straight to the point. And I've coached, to be honest, well over like 1,000 ladies, guys and girls over the last 15 years, done one-to-one, had a boot camp in Fulham for over a decade, and coaching online for like 3 to 4 years. So I've done every angle, I've seen every sort of challenge and success from everyone. So a little bit about me, and that is my mum in the top left. She is Someone who does actually quite a bit of strength training. She is like gonna be, I should know this, 70 this year, and she still goes to the gym twice a week at least. And I try to give her a bit of extra help with all of that. And I always say, if my mum can do it, who's got a dodgy shoulder, you can do it as well. I promise. Okay. It's just about being capable and finding what your capabilities are, and just being consistent, right? And this also allows her to like lead a long, fulfilling quality of life where she can still do loads of stuff. I don't want my mum to be like really incapable. So that's a little bit about my mum, and hopefully gives you a bit of a push to do what you need to do. I've had a boot camp in London really prominently for the last 10 years, which was something that I built from the ground up, built a big community on there. It's me and the dog, and I like to be a bit of an outdoorsy person, do a lot of hikes, so that's like the basics about me. Now, all of the important stuff now, so we'll get straight into it. I'll just start off and just talk a little bit about, a lot of the people that I coach in reality are like 30, but really like 40 and 50 and upwards, right? And they all have like the same kind of challenges, right? So when you were in your 20s, when you were at uni, when you were younger, could you say, you could skip meals, weight would come off, you could do stuff without any stress, you wouldn't have to overthink about your food, you were sort of had a lot of control with your meal, you didn't have to portion control and think about protein in the same way that you probably have to do nowadays, and you could get results a lot quicker, you could do all that kind of stuff, right? And nowadays, everything, you probably feel like you're doing a lot of things right. You see a lot of different conflicting information online, yet you're not always getting the results that you are looking for. You follow advice, and like I said, you listen to people, and you're like, hey, well, this isn't really working for me, and you don't really get the progress you want. Feels like nothing really works. And the reality is that after 40, there's really three key things that changes for everyone, right? There are definitely those hormonal shifts, which is typically that pre, peri, and post-menopause period in particular. And there's definitely challenges there that we want to make sure that we are like aware of. And the big one, which people forget sometimes, it is that lifestyle change. So you do become more sedentary, you just do less without realizing. And I'll show you visually, by the way, like how all of this stacks. I'll show you like in lots of different visual ways so that I can really sort of drive the points home that I'm trying to get through today. And you lose muscle, and you need as much muscle as you can. I promise you, no one has ever worked with me and gone, Adam, I've gained loads of muscle and I feel worse about myself. It doesn't happen. So if anyone is ever like, oh, how much muscle do I need? Am I going to get too bulky and all that kind of stuff? It's not going to happen. All right. And typically you will lose like, 3 to 8%, sometimes more of your muscle every single decade. So it's something that you're constantly fighting against. So you have to make sure that you have routines in place with like training and nutrition in particular to make sure that you are mitigating against this, right? And the cost of getting it wrong for everyone, right, is you get stuck in these yo-yo cycles where every failed cycle of doing something, whether it's a new diet, whether it's a lack of consistency or trying the new thing, it gets harder every single time, right? And then you just get caught in this like, well, this isn't really for me, I'm sick of this, and then you're done with it, right? You waste a load of time and money. If I could show you some of the conversations I've had over the years of people who have spent thousands on the craziest stuff that I even never knew existed. So that's another thing. And ultimately, most people who come to me and work with me and watch my stuff, right? Like sometimes there are people who, if they're not getting it right, they don't really have the confidence to do the things that they want to do in life, right? And ultimately, you get health complications, and people usually take action when something happens to them, right? You go to a doctor, or it's something goes, oh, you've got high blood pressure, or you're at risk of X, Y, and Z, right? So the best the best cure is prevention, is do the stuff now so that you don't have to deal with it later on, right? That is just the reality, right? Kind of like servicing your car. If you never service your car and you drive it fast and you wreck it, you're probably going to be like, oh, wow, like a couple of years down the line, the tires are going, the engine needs changing, not good, right? And ultimately you get to miss out on life if you're not doing the stuff that you need to, right? So that's just a quick background there. 5 things that I want you to take home from today. Right, I'll talk to you about like metabolism, what's going on under the hood, all of that important stuff. Nutrition, this is the key bit, right? For everyone, you hear people say nutrition is 80% of the equation. It absolutely is. Training, we need to focus on that as well. Big component. Mindset, and then how to tie everything together. Okay, really important. So I'll show you sort of a complete guide. I never hold anything back in terms of value, right? I try to give everyone as much as I can, because I want everyone to benefit and to be better. Okay. So first thing, a little bit about metabolism and how that changes, especially as you age and you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., right? There's three big things that are happening. You lose muscle as you get older. This is like just, decade on decade on average what is happening. Your lifestyle starts to shift. We all basically do less. We sit around more, especially in this age of technology, right? And there's definitely like some hormonal shifts that are also going on here as well. Now, the muscle loss side of the equation, right, is that you're basically losing about 3 to 8% per decade. This is the big if you do nothing, right? And most people they either do nothing or don't do enough, right? So, they don't do strength training. They don't have any kind of routine in place and all that kind of stuff, right? Sarcopenia, which is basically a fancy word for like losing muscle, right? You don't want that to happen, okay? And also your bone density, sounds really depressing, but your bone density actually decreases also 1 to 2% every year. You can't increase your bone density, but roughly around the age of 30, again, if you are not doing stuff, in terms of, strength training, eating enough protein, we'll get into that, you will lose 1 to 2% of your essential sort of skeletal mass every year, right? You can absolutely flatline this and build muscle and improve these things if you do the right things, and I'll show you how to do those as well. And just to put this into context for you, by the age of 60, most people, compared to like when they're around 30, have 30% less muscle on their body, right? And you know what that equates to every day? That is like burning 200 calories less every day just because of that. And imagine how that compounds. 200 sounds like, oh, that's actually quite a lot. You look at that over the course of a month, and if you were doing even the same thing that you were doing in your 20s and 30s, so and your lifestyle is exactly the same, which for most of the time it isn't, just from the muscle side of the equation, you just basically burn less. So this is where like things like you just weight creeps up on you over years. All of these factors compounding, right? And if you look at the lifestyle side of the equation, right? Most people who are 45, they have desk jobs. They sort of sit around everywhere. They just drive. They have a need to sort of sit down, right? And the calorie difference between this is the same or greater, right? It's like, the difference between getting 12,000 steps and sitting around and getting 5,000 steps, for example, which is very common, again, compounds to like another 200, 300, 400 calories for a lot of people. So that's pretty much that side of the equation. And as you get older as well, you tend to find that people are not getting in enough protein. And one reality of like nutrition as you age as well, there is a component of needing to have a big focus with the intention of what you are eating, because your body's become, how can we say, sort of slightly less efficient at like absorbing like protein and nutrients and stuff like that as you age. So you want to make sure that you get this sort of stuff right. 80% don't get enough, and most are not. I've put a spelling mistake there, but it should say track. Most people don't track the quantities and they lack the intention. So we'll talk about that in a minute as well. And just to give you a real world example of what this looks like for the average person, right? Is you've got Sarah. If anyone is here is a Sarah, then don't worry. Not aimed at you. But let's say you're like 1450 calories when you're 25, and she does 10,000 steps. She has 110 pounds of like lean mass. Point is, she burns around 2,200 calories. All right, and when she's 50, basically there's only a slight difference in the metabolism, right? but she does 4,000 steps. She has less muscle on her body, and you can see how this is a maybe more extreme example, but how like there can be a discrepancy of around like sort of 600 calories when you actually factor in all of the equation, right? But I'm going to show you. Someone said, "Oh, it's depressing about getting older and stuff." Nah, don't worry, right? There's absolutely ways. I'm going to show you how you can just mitigate all of this and make all of these improvements and reverse a lot of this stuff, right? And yeah, this is sort of like where some of the differences are sort of coming from, right? So the difference can be as high as like 400 to 600 calories, but all of these little small differences stack up. And to give you an idea of like what changes you can make by actually implementing everything that I'm showing you, you've got like Kat. When she first came in with me, she actually ended up doing something crazy, like went from 117 kilos down to like 60 kilos of me over a long period. When she started, like most people who come to me, they were sort of yo-yo cycling, and she was exhausted, not happy with where she was. After she was actually able to implement this stuff, she could massively improve her energy levels, her confidence, and obviously dramatically just improved her entire sort of quality in life and confidence, right? Now, nutrition. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything. How many of you here have seen stuff online and get confused from time to time, and someone is explaining the same thing in a different way and they're telling you to do something completely different? You know, like weight loss, there's like so many different diets and all this kind of stuff, and someone's explaining one thing and they use fancy words. Yes. So, you know, you get a lot of confusion online, right? Someone's telling you to eat only carnivore because it helps heal their skin, and all of these, they use these fancy words, right? They'll tell you to go low carb. If you don't do that, you're not going to make any progress. They'll use the word insulin, which they'll use this as a almost like a buzzword to sort of scare you, and you know, the list kind of goes on, right? Low fat, whatever it is, right? Again, the balance is usually somewhere in the middle. Things that I don't want you to do, right, is follow diets. If you're following a specific diet, usually means there is a level of restriction that means that you cannot keep it up for the long term. If you can't do something for longer than 4 weeks, and you know that you can't do it for longer than 4 weeks, don't do it. Like, you probably shouldn't be doing it for the long term, right? You probably shouldn't be eating diet plans that are sub 1,000 calories for sustained periods of time, unless you are an extreme person who's really small and really lean, and there are some weird exceptions, but most people shouldn't be eating less than 1,000. You should be trying to eat more volume and sometimes eat as much as you can and make as much progress as you can. So I'll talk about ranges and numbers and all that kind of stuff, so you know exactly what you need to do. Don't need to restrict yourself with foods that you enjoy. You don't need to say no to social events, so you can go out with your friends, and I'll show you how to have balance with that as well. And essentially, nutrition has 4 pillars, right? You need to get these 4 things right, especially the first 3. Now, you need some sort of control on calories. I'll show you exactly how to get your numbers and all of that sort of stuff to do with calories and food, right? We'll go through that. You need to make sure that you have some focus on protein and some focus on fiber. These are the only 3 things right here on the screen that I'm wishing my mouse over with. The 3 things you need to focus on. The other stuff is more noise, okay? And then the 4th one is tying it kind of all together, is you need something that allows you flexibility. You know, a common one is people will say, well, can I do fasting? I'm like, well, you can do fasting. It's not going to give you any better results over conventional eating. But if you feel that that works for you, then great. But you need to find something that you can adhere to, right? There's no like one size fits all. But the 3 things that you need to focus on: calories, protein, fiber. Now, I thought I'd go through this today because I think this is useful, because a lot of people ask me this. They're like, you know, you look at the back of food labels, you're like, well, it can be quite confusing. I sort of see all these things, and people talk about sugars and how much sugar something has, right? So I thought I'd just get this from downstairs today, and I was like, to look at Ryvita, right? So the only thing you need to worry about is, like, you know, the amount of calories something has, which is just over here. You see fats and saturates and stuff like that. Don't worry so much about like saturated fat too much. If you're having mostly whole food, you're going to be absolutely fine. The most common thing that I get asked is 3 or 4 eggs too much in a day? No. 4 eggs gives you like 3 grams of saturated fat, and technically the limit, you could call it, or recommended limit is like 20, so you'll be fine, right? 20 for girls and like 30 for guys, I think. So that's something to think about there. Carbohydrates, you see this a lot, like of which sugars, right? Without trying to get like really complicated. But don't worry about this anyway. Like, all carbohydrates basically get broken down into the exact same thing. And remember, just because something can be really high in sugars and be really good for you, like fruit, for example. So this sort of stuff can be a little bit misleading in terms of like just focusing on this, right? So just focus on just the main stuff in terms of like the calories, and then really here the protein and the fiber, right? These two are pretty much sort of set in stone, right? Without get again too weird and fancy, fiber has calories, but your body can't really digest it. But I'd just be looking at calories and then how much protein and fiber something is giving you. Something else to look at, very common, ketchup, and people will talk about ingredients. Should I be having these ingredients? Is this good? Is this bad? Right? Look, the reality is that it's all about context. If you put a splodge of ketchup on your plate and you've made a healthy plate of homemade fries, burgers, and you've got salad and veg, it's not going to do anything. You're absolutely fine, right? Just because something has sugar in the ingredients does not necessarily mean that it is automatically bad. So try not to box off food as all good or all bad. Usually it's like, how much is something helping me towards my goals? And sometimes you want foods that you also enjoy in there, right? So it's not about like crazy restriction. And just to use this as an example, like tomato ketchup does have like sugar as an ingredient, but if you have one serving and there's 10 calories, you're probably getting like, how much of that is actually coming from sugar? You're probably getting like 2 or 3 calories from sugar. That's probably going into your day tenfold through the biscuit that you eat, the coffee that you have. So don't worry about it, okay? Now, calories. All diets will do the same thing. They reduce calories, okay? If you go on low carb, if you take out your pasta, your bread, etc., and you replace them with fats, healthy fats, and meats and fish, you're just going to reduce your calories by default, okay? So something to bear in mind. And protein and calories are made up of protein, carbs, and fats. The calories of all of these, right, basically add up to give you your total calories for the day. So that's where your total calories come from. Protein has 4 grams. 4 calories per gram. Carbs has 4 calories per gram, and fats have 9 calories per gram. So if anyone ever sees me do these comparisons where you've got like olive oil and they're like, oh my god, that's like so many calories, that's because fat is very, very dense. It's not that you shouldn't eat it, it's that you need to be aware of it, okay? So something for you to think about there when it comes to that, right? And the goal is not to track calories and be obsessed with calories for your entire life, right? The goal is to track usually for a period of time, so you can build up awareness so that you know what is actually going in. I'm sure if I said to you now, anyone in the comments, if you've tracked before, I bet you in that first week of tracking, your eyes opened up and you went, oh my god, I had no idea how much was in a avocado, or how much a teaspoon of olive oil was, all of this kind of stuff, right? I'm 100% sure of that, right? And once you become aware of that, you don't need to track every single gram. You'll know how much the average potato is, all this kind of stuff. It's a skill that you learn that you can also take out into the real world. Like I mentioned earlier, let's just say chocolates and fruits, right? They both contain roughly the same amount of sugar, right? Actually, blueberries technically more, but that does not mean that blueberries are bad. You wouldn't say that, would you? But fruit comes packaged with volume, nutrients, fiber, water, all of this sort of stuff. So it's digested by your body. You have a completely different response to when you have fruit, okay? But the calories in them are the same, but you don't feel the same. If you have a load of blueberries, you're like, oh, Phil, I'm sick of it. I don't really want any more of that. You'd probably have 3 Mars bars, right? And probably be like, yeah, just still hungry, right? So it's about it's the effect it has on you, right? So like I said, not all foods make you feel the same, but that's kind of like a little touch on the whole sugar element. What counts? when you are tracking and looking at your food, I'd be looking at your sauces, oils, condiments. These are the big ones. All of this. That's why I put the picture there. And then your fruits and your vegetables absolutely count. Okay. Should you eat as many fruit and vegetables? Absolutely. You see me in my videos stacking them on my plate and making constantly having lots of variety. You should have them in, but they count in terms of the actual calories and the nutritional value. Vitamins and fish oil tablets, little things like this. This is the little sneaky ways that things can kind of come in. Someone said to me, oh my god, I didn't realize I was taking this collagen supplement, and I was actually, that with my fish oils was adding in like 150 calories a day that I had no idea. So little things like that can kind of creep in. And just remember, all healthy food, right? There's no such thing as something that is free, right? In terms of like salmon, avocado, olive oil are the classic ones. Make sure that you are paying attention to those, right? And I'm going to, if you hang around to the end as well, I'm going to send you my calculator, and it will show you how to work all of this out with like the touch of a button. But I know that some people like to go through this sort of stuff and just to kind of walk them through it. But to find your own calorie number, okay, again, I will show you my calorie calculator, and I'll give it to you for free at the end. It's essentially, don't worry about all of these numbers at the minute, right? It's just really 4 things. It's the amount of calories that it costs your body to just sit down and do nothing. That's what your metabolic rate is, okay, your BMR. Thermic effect is how much your body burns from just ingesting and digesting food. And then you have your steps and your workout. And once you add these 4 components, we can talk about this a bit more later, you have a number, which is the number that it costs you to basically maintain your weight. Whether you are 90 years old, you're 20 years old, you're 50 years old, you're male, female, doesn't matter. Everyone has a maintenance number on average for what they do. And then you can create a deficit off of that to basically start to lose body fat. And usually that number is about 20 to 25%. Okay, if you do this, you will see results, no doubt about it. Okay, again, I'll dive into this a bit later, but I don't want to spend like crazy long on this, but I know everyone wants to know how to figure out their calories. Now, here's some cool things, 2 most important pillars, right? Protein. You need to have protein in your diet to help you build and maintain muscle. You need it really for like satiety, because the more protein you have as a proportion of your calories and as a proportion of your food in a day, the more that helps with hunger. I'm sure other people would say that as well. And it also helps you basically burn extra calories throughout the day if everything else is consistent. So if you have 2 people, one person's on 2,000 calories, the other person's on 2,000 calories, one person has a higher protein diet, one person has a lower one, the one who is having a higher protein diet just burns more calories for free, keeping everything else even. And I'll show you how that works. But essentially you're looking at meat, eggs, fish, dairy. Yes, you can get it through plant protein, absolutely, tofu, all of that kind of stuff. You just have to be a bit really intentional with it. And the magic number for guys and girls, right, is roughly 1 gram per pound of target body weight. Okay, so if you are, I'm just making up a number, right? Let's say you're 250 pounds or 200 pounds, which is about, I don't know, 100 kilos-ish, right? You do not need to aim for 250 grams of protein. That would be absurd, right? You'll be eating 2 chickens a day. You'll be coming off this thinking, oh, that's not attainable, right? So, usually for most women, right? So you take your, let's say your goal is to get 150 pounds or 130 pounds, 170 pounds. A shade below a gram per pound of target body weight is absolutely gold. And the answer, this is the cheat sheet answer for you, is women, right? Generally speaking, around 100, right? To like 120 grams of protein is going to suffice for 90% of people. Not like, that is literally the golden ratio, right? Guys, usually about 130 to about 170 because they have a little bit more muscle mass, they are bigger, all of that kind of stuff, right? If you get anywhere close to that, great. And it's not black or white, right? It's not 90 is bad, 100 is good. It's the closer you can get to it, great. You're getting the lion's share. Even if you've got 90 grams on a day, great. And remember, it's the averages that you're doing over the course of a week. So like I said here, for most women, 100 to 150 grams, you would be in the A-star category. You'd get a voice note from me on my weekly check-ins, and I'd be like, you're absolutely rocking it. Great. Legend, right? Guys, a little bit more. And the sort of stuff that I make is, you've sort of seen some of my beef pots and whatnot, but stuff like this works really well. And I'll show you some examples as well of what I eat for to make complete meals as well. And hopefully this gives you some good ideas as well. And generally speaking, a good rule of thumb, aim for about 30 grams of protein per meal. Okay? If you do that 3 times, you will be absolutely fine. Try to get 30 grams of protein as a protein source, right? If you can. So try to get 30 grams of protein from chicken, eggs, meat, fish, something like that, right? Yogurt, whatever, right? Or combinations of those, and then just let the carbohydrate. You still get protein from carbs and salads and stuff like that, but that not so much, okay? So that's pretty much that. And just to show you how this works in the real world, okay, is you have 2 people. Let's just use Sarah again, because we talked about using Sarah earlier. She's having 50 grams of protein, right? And it basically costs your body to break down fats, carbs, and protein. When you break, let's say, hopefully you're finding this insightful, right? Because when you have 100 calories of fats, let's just say you have olive oil, your body basically 100 calories goes in, right? And then basically your body is left with 100 calories. With carbohydrates, your body takes in about 90% of those. So let's say 100 calories of bread went in, of carbs, right? Your body would be left with 90 calories, right? But with protein, your body is usually left with about 75 to 85%, right? So it costs your body more energy to break down protein, right? It's more effort, right? So you get a net effect there. So if you have someone who's having 50 compared to someone who's having 150 grams of protein a day, what that would equate to is you burn an extra 100 calories a day doing nothing at all, all right? And the actual monthly impact of that is about 3,000 extra calories a month. That's just making one tweak to your diet. Forget about steps, forget about all the other stuff, right? Which alone you will actually lose a pound or nearly half a kilo of fat just by making that one change. So I'm just trying to show you the impact here. And when it comes to intention, I like to talk about eating with intention. We would all look at the food on the left and go, that's a good breakfast, right? But the reality is a meal like this is not going to get you to where you need to be in terms of your protein target. And what you need to do is probably bump it up to 3 eggs. I spoke earlier about eggs. You don't need to worry about eggs having too many and all that kind of stuff in majority of cases. I have 4 eggs every day. I'm sure people have sort of seen all that kind of stuff. So that's how to upgrade that. You can balance out egg whites and all that kind of stuff with calories, but just to kind of show you what you would need to be eating in order to get to a 30 grams of protein or close to that per meal, you'd need to do something like this, all right? So that's all things protein. Now, when it comes to fiber, all right, you need fiber, very important, a lot more important than people realize. And actually, nowadays, as people are getting more sort of savvy and aware with protein, if you double check your fiber, I guarantee you might shock yourself and be like, oh my gosh, I thought I got loads of fruit and veg in. You probably don't. So you need fiber basically because it keeps you full, right? Not minutes like processed food, right? And it stops afternoon crashes. You need it for your gut to be healthy, especially as you are getting older, right? This helps. Basically, the more fiber you have in your diet, the longer you live, the less health complications you have. I really want to get that in there. That is what the literature, what the science will tell you. The more you have, the better, right? So that's how important fiber is, right? I'll tell you what you should be aiming for. Roughly, right? About 20 to 30 grams a day is what you want to be trying to get in, okay? Most people get about 10 grams to 16 grams if they are lucky, right? I asked my girlfriend the other day, she was like, She's like, oh, do you reckon I got enough fibre in the day? I was like, well, let's go 3 a day. She's like, well, I had raspberries, I had this, I had all this. And then she's like, oh my God, I'm at 10. Terrible, right? And it's because she wasn't eating with intention, and I'll show you that in a minute. But, you know, the easy win is just add fruit and veg. That's the easy way to do it. If you're like, how do I add fibre? And I'll show you what is highest, what is lowest. I'm going to try my best to, you know, really give you a lot of value with this. But on average, everyone's calories are a little bit different, but per 1,000 calories that you have of food, try to aim for 14 to 15 grams of fiber within that. So let's say you were having 1,500 calories, right? That would be about, you know, 20 grams. If you're having a bit more, have a little bit more, right? And again, how many of you do this? Again, like the protein thing, you'd probably be like, yeah, I'm probably getting a little bit better with my servings and portion sizes. How many of you have a salad like this and be like, yep, loads of salad makes my meal healthy? Well, is it good for you? Of course it is, right? Someone asked me, is it the same grams of fiber for weight of fruit and veg? I'll go through all of that in the next slide, which is going to be really useful. What you actually, what you actually need to do, right, is be intentional with what you're putting in your food, because something like this is really healthy, this salad, but it's just, there's not enough volume in there. There's not enough fiber. Something like this, about 1 or 2 grams of fiber if you're lucky. If you're lucky. You put a tablespoon of chia seeds, you've got 1 tablespoon of this is 4 times the amount of fiber as this, right? A handful of broccoli, 2 to 3 times as much fiber as this, right? You have a handful of strawberries, almost 10 times the amount of fiber as this, right? So you have to eat with the right foods in the right quantities, not 2 or 3 strawberries on your yogurt. Don't be shy. I know that like berries and some foods are more expensive than others, right? But you can do this really efficiently, right? And ultimately, I always think that like, if your health and your goals are important to you, you'll make it happen, right? Now, foods that are highest in fiber, everyone likes this sort of stuff. Everyone always wants the answer. You know, everyone's like, well, what's the best food? What is this? Right? There's no good or best food. They all serve different purposes. But if we look at stuff like fruits, all berries are amazing. Even better, blackberries and raspberries. Pears and apples, really good. So I've tried to give you here what are the highest fiber foods for the lowest amount of calories, because we want to try to be efficient, especially if you're like eating in a deficit. Vegetables, your broccolis, your sprouts, your carrots, and notice how these are basic foods. You go into Tesco, you get a bag of carrots for 50p. That doesn't need to be more complex than that. Like, they're all good for you. Great foods, right? Carbohydrate sources, you know, lentils, chickpeas, quinoa, these are sort of better options. And seeds, you've got like chia seeds, flax seeds, all really good. Okay, someone says, is there fiber in oats and bran? Yes, they are typically very good. I'm not going to go into soluble and insoluble fiber, but generally speaking, try to get a variety of foods here. Okay, and if you do that, great. And by eating with intention like this, just to let you know, it allows you as well to go, oh, I can have something where I don't have to pack in, you know, every single fruit and veg under the sun in a meal, and I can just have like a handful of berries, and that gets me to my goal. A really good example of that would be like, just go and make a plain cheese and tuna toasty. You don't need to add anything in there. Just have the berries, a handful of berries on the side. Complete meal. You'll get loads of protein, you'll get loads of fiber, and you get something that also tastes really nice. Happy days. Like I said, you don't have to be like, right, I'm going to make a tray bake, or I'm going to make something and I have to cram in broccoli and raspberries and chia seeds because these are the highest foods. It's not necessarily like that. So hopefully you're taking that away from this. These are some meals that I have personally and that I share with like clients and stuff that work really well for me. So my go-to thing, like if I want something quick and easy, something like this will pretty much cover all of your bases, right? Someone said a lot to take in. Hopefully you're all getting lots of value from this and you're like, this is really helpful, right? Because I want to try to like genuinely like help you and get the point across. But a meal like this, look, you got loads of fiber, loads of protein from the yogurt, healthy carbs, great. You're going to be you know, really full, and it's just like a really complete meal, right? So these are just some examples for me. And like I said, something like this, very simple and easy. Like this one is just in my ebook. I've made this one a little bit nicer and tastier and a little bit higher in protein. Something like this doesn't have to be more complex than that, right? And Soups are really good ways to just pack loads of stuff in. You see me like tray bake stuff, blend it, done, delicious, right? And you can pack in loads of vitamins and nutrients and stuff like that. And you can just make them you can make them meat based, you can make them veggie based. Really good alternatives here that you can do. My favorite thing at the minute is to actually like slow cook and make like I don't know how you can call them, like meat bases that you can just add to anything. So I made like these I think loads of people tried the brisket recipe that I put up, like a couple of brisket recipes that I put up in the last couple of months, last month or so, and they were like, that amazing, right? So that's what I do. So I make something like this and I put it into wraps, I put it into sandwiches, I make rice bowls out of them, and I just put them in the fridge. Amazing, right? And if you can get like lean meats, all of this sort of stuff, it just works really well. I've got a couple of recipes on my page at the minute with them, so you can't miss them. One of them's got the dog in there and got a big orange crock pot, but work really well. Try to get the leaner sources of meat if you can. Work really well, low effort. And homemade protein bars, something like this. I make these, I leave them in the freezer. 5 ingredients, bish bash bosh, done. You literally, I don't even bake these. I literally mash them in a bowl, shove them into a mold, done. And this will give me like, I don't know, 7 grams of fiber, 350 calories, 25, 30 grams of protein. Easy. Now, how do you also incorporate the nutrition side when you're eating out? You have to be flexible, okay? So when you are eating out, try to have like an 80-20 approach, looking at the week as a whole, okay? You don't think that one meal or one day makes the week really bad. It's the most common thing that you see. But when you're eating out and you go out, right, you need something that allows you to eat out and stuff. And like I said, that's where like having awareness of food really helps. So just knowing that, okay, the average portion of fries when I eat out, 500 calories. The average pizza when I eat out, roughly 1,000 calories, right? The average ribeye steak that I have, roughly 550, 600 calories, maybe. The average fillet is going to be half those calories. So just being armed with that information helps you make more informed decisions, right? And eating on the go, you know, when you're eating on the go, if sometimes life gets in the way, you're in airports, you're at a petrol station, whatever, you're like, I need something, aim for something that has like 30 grams of protein for every 400 calories. Great rule of thumb if you're picking up like a sandwich or something like that, right? We all live in the real world, okay? And like I said, look at weekly calories. Great question, Yvonne. Just as I was saying that, should we focus on the week in terms of nutrition and calories? There we go. Weekly calories, really important, right? It is not what you do in a day or a meal or one workout or the steps that you do indeed over a day, a week or whatever, right? It's what you do over the week. That is the only thing that really matters. It's the averages, right? So if you're good Monday to Friday and every weekend you go out and you're around your maintenance calories, you're going to make loads of progress, right? However, if you go out and you have no awareness and those 2 days on average you're having wine and drink and eating out with the girls and your friends and you way overblow your calories, you're probably going to bring yourself up closer to maintenance. So look at the week as a whole, really important. Signs that you know, right, to sort of wrap up the nutrition part, that you're in a good deficit, right? We talked about earlier a little bit about like numbers, figuring all of that kind of stuff out. Most people here usually want to lose like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 pounds or more if you've got something long term, right? We all want to lose body fat, especially around our midsection, all of that kind of common stuff. If the energy in your workouts are really high, then your deficit is really good. These ones even more important. Your sleep is good. Your hunger is not overwhelming. And the key one, the most important one, is that you are losing 0.5 to about 1% of your body weight per week, okay? If you are able to lose roughly that amount per week, again, average over weeks, not just one particular week, and you feel good doing it, you're not overwhelmingly hungry, you're making progress week on week, great. So that is really, really important, okay? Everything is big picture. I'm going to show you in a minute some how to overcome plateaus and how to also like look at stuff, the difference between looking stuff on a daily, a weekly, and like an annual, like just to show you the extreme, right? Because like I said, I'm trying to make this visual for you. You do that, great. Anna, amazing example as well of just focusing on the nutrition alone. Okay, this is only alone, right? and she was someone again who started over every Monday, very frustrated. People always ask me, they're like, Adam, I see her tattoos. Why are they different on different arms? And I'm like, I know, she flipped the camera, the image or something. So definitely, if Anna's watching this, it's definitely the same person. But yeah, afterwards, obviously, having 10 times more control with your nutrition and going out to social events and all that kind of stuff, feeling a lot more effortless, right, means that you can like see and feel results and actually be able to sustain them, right? Now, strength training, we'll talk about creatine, collagen, all that kind of stuff a bit later, right? Someone asked me that. Loads of good questions. Write them down and be ready to ask them a bit later. Strength training. This is the stuff that people neglect the most. Should you do cardio? Can you do any form of exercise? Absolutely. If you're doing something, you're doing better than 90% of people, because 90% of people sit on their bum, do nothing, right? So strength training is a must. Like I said, you need it to prevent basically muscle loss. I'm telling you, everyone in this room can gain muscle, and you should be aiming to do that. I promise you, you can all gain muscle. Doesn't matter what age you are, you can gain, right? We need it for bone density, like we discussed earlier, and you also need it to look and feel your best, right? We don't just want to eat healthy and lose fat and lose weight, right? I'm sure we all go, Adam, I want my glutes, my arms, whatever it is, right, to show and be toned and all that kind of stuff, right? In order to be quote unquote toned, right, you need to have muscle under there to show it once you get rid of your body fat. So that's pretty much that. That's why we train. And this is a good one. It's always the best one, right? You burn more calories for free. Imagine you were sitting on this call and you did a masterclass with me in like 6 months' time, right? And you're like, just come here, Adam, to say I took everything you said on board. I worked with you, I didn't work with you, I watched your videos, all that good stuff. And you're like, Adam, I've got an extra 10 pounds of muscle on my body. And you're like, Adam, I'm now burning an extra 100 calories a day for free. That's an extra 3,000 calories a month. That sounds like a good deal. Watching Netflix, doing nothing, you get to burn more and eat more, right? Happy days. The most common things that I see as a barrier is I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to strength training. I'm too old. I don't have time. We'll talk about that in a bit. But you do. It's usually a matter of prioritizing. Right? I've met people who have got the most extreme conditions in life, and they're like, this is important to me. I want to make it happen. And you don't need a lot of time. 2 30-minute sessions. That's it. Okay? And I'm sure some of you are probably nodding your head, you know, I don't have time, don't know what I'm doing. I'll get too bulky, right? All of this sort of stuff, right? These are not, if you ever thought any of these things, don't. These are easily things that you can overcome, and half of them are like not even true anyway, okay? Now, what do you actually need to do to see some progress, right? In the most basic form. I promise you, everyone in this room tonight, 2 to 3 sessions a week, you will get 80 to 90% of the results that you are looking for. You do not need to train multiple times a week with crazy intensities and do crazy stuff that you see online. You really don't, okay? You just need to do compound movements, which is a real simple, well, it's kind of a fancy word, not really, but like it's just a word that means do the important exercises that give you the most bang for your buck. Squats, push-ups, deadlifts, some kind of row, some kind of shoulder press. That's it. That's all you need to do. People ask me, what do you do, Adam, for your workouts? I'm like, I literally stick to 6 to 8 exercises and nothing else. I don't need to do loads of fluffy stuff. And they're like, well, you look like you train and you do. And I'm like, I do train. I'm just really consistent. That's the only thing I need to do. You don't do anything fancy. And progressively overload, a really fancy way of saying, could you just add 1 rep every single week? That's it. When you plank, could you do an extra 5 seconds? That's it. If you do these things, right, that's where you see the real benefit. The difference between training and like adding weights, between doing a workout and trying to progress in that workout is kind of like the difference of eating healthy. But imagine you eat healthy and you don't track anything and you didn't strive to improve anything there. That's the difference, right? You can't just eat healthy and you can't just train. You want to try to do it with intention. You need to have like a plan for this kind of stuff, right? So hopefully that's kind of like thinking. Your body responds to the stimulus that you put on it. When you break down muscle, it comes back stronger. So it goes, okay, right, I'm now ready for that workout. You just want to challenge it a little bit. I'm talking like everyone here could do 1 rep extra, like 1 extra squat every single week. You watch how that compounds over the course of like 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, right? You'd be unbelievably surprised. And you only need, honestly, 30 to 45 minutes in a session. I only say 45 minutes in a session to give you a breather, give you a rest break and stuff like that. All my workouts that I do with my clients and in the private group, they're all 30 minutes. Simple, right? If they want something more, we absolutely give them more. We give them specific stuff. But most people who come to me, they want efficiency. They want like, that's the sort of stuff they want, right? And it honestly can be that simple. And really simply put, should you do cardio or should you do strength? Both have different benefits. Cardio gives you the benefit of like heart health and fitness, and weights gives you the benefit of having more muscle so that you can build you can be more functional and all that kind of stuff. So you need to do a little bit of both of them. But generally speaking, this is the one that people neglect the most, the weightlifting stuff. And like I said, it can be so basic. You would be amazed at how basic my workouts are and how basic my mum's workouts are. My mum comes in, does her Monday morning squats. That's it. So am I done? Am I free to go, Adam? Yes, you're free to go now. Get on with the rest of your week. So this is what focusing on like training actually looks like, right? With actually not much change in the nutrition in terms of like just tweaking like protein and stuff like that. But again, when Jenny came to me, she was like, oh, I feel sluggish. I feel like bloated, not really like how I want to be. I'm not really like myself. And actually just implementing 3 strength training sessions a week. What she is able to do is basically be toned, shape, and like I said, be confident in the stuff that she was wearing. She's like, Adam, I really just want to get my stomach flatter, have more of a slimmer waistline and make my legs more toned. Well, I'm like, I'll show you how to do that. So that's just that, right? And on the mindset stuff, this is the last kind of like portion to tie this all in, and then I'll mindset and integration, and I'll leave it all over to you lot. Mindset is the thing that is the glue that ties everything together. You kind of are armed with the information of, okay, this is what I should be eating. This is how I should be training in hopefully a really simple way, right? I do talk about like a lot of things like protein, fiber, and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, track your calories, be accurate with it. Focus on protein and fiber. You're good to go. 2 to 3 strength training sessions a week. You'll be good to go as well. But you need to know how to be consistent. Okay, and this is where most people fail. So you need the mindset because you need to find out what your why is, okay? Your why is not my neighbor next door, Sarah, picking on a lot of Sarahs today, doing this new diet. That's not a reason to do it. You need to be specific with what your why is. You're like, I want to feel fitter and healthier. I want to be have energy for the grandkids. I want to be a really good role model. I want to be healthy. I want to live till I'm 60, 70, 80, 90 and be able to do all of the things that I can do now. And I don't want to be one of these people that is, I always say it's better to be it's better to be the oldest person in the gym than be the youngest person in the care home, right? So think about that. That's what I think is like part of my why. But consistency, and discipline, your discipline is essentially trading something now for the future, right? Could be something as small as meal prep, could be something as small as taking your actions and stuff now. But yeah, that's what discipline is essentially. And you need this, I think you'll like this next bit, to overcome challenges. I'm massive on this because the bit that trips people up the most, right, is they go into a week or they start a new diet, all this kind of stuff, and they're not quite they go into it like almost too positive, and they're like, as soon as a hurdle comes up, like I have to go out, I have to go off plan, I didn't hit my steps today, or my weight isn't changing, and all of this kind of stuff, right? As soon as that comes in and they haven't baked that into the equation, they fall off and fail, and they're like, nah, this ain't for me, right? So that's what the overcoming challenges bit is, right? I thought I'd show you this. This is like my own weight loss, right? Just for forget about like the actual numbers and stuff, right? But this was my weight for 3 weeks in about a 400 calorie deficit. Okay, now if that happened to most people, they get to this point and be like, sod this, my weight is going up and down, this is just a load of nonsense, this ain't working, Adam, right? But when you stick with it long enough, you will see that plateaus usually last for 2 to 3 weeks at most, right? And you'll see that you resume trend, right? That is just the name of the game, right? And this is just something. And even better, right? When you look at something like this on a daily scale, if I show you this now over the course of like a longer period, what would you say to me now? You'd then say to me, oh, you're clearly losing weight, right? And sometimes there are loads of different factors in terms of what you eat and foods and all this kind of stuff. So this was me like 6 to 7 weeks ago. What actually happened, if anyone was following me at the time or saw it, I basically had the flu. So I lost this weight really sharply. And then as I was in a calorie deficit, I kind of got this middle ground rebound effect, right? But usually, like I said, like you can see still here, even when it's going sideways, right? If you look at the trend, even from here, like you're still losing overall. And that's where you have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. And if you look at it even bigger, you can kind of see that this is like on a monthly scale or 3-month scale. You can see that the trends are sort of up and down. And, you know, my goal is sort of like a little bit of gaining muscle and dropping and stuff. But when you zoom out, this is a year chart of like my weight. Don't ask. But you can kind of see how when you zoom out, you can see the trend. When you zoom in and you kind of hear, sometimes you, whoops, my mouse has lost the plot. Yeah, sometimes here it really looks like weight is stagnant. But like I said, you have to prepare for these things. That's actually a more extreme example. Usually weight won't stay like that for like 3 weeks. So yeah, and I'm not sure if anyone's seen this before, but I really like this. This is a really good way of seeing what stage you are in. You can all write in the comments as you're watching this, like where you think you are. But when it comes to starting something new, it could be a fitness endeavor, it could be business, it could be a new activity, right? We all start with something called uninformed optimism, and there's 5 stages, right? We all start something. I guarantee you all start it and you go, I'm really excited to start. I've got this marathon. I'm doing it with my mates. Gonna do all this stuff, you know, really cool. And you start a new diet. You're like, cool, I've seen all these people get amazing results and I'm now ready to start something new, and you'll, you know, all of that kind of stuff, right? And you have this, it's almost like a novelty at the beginning. Usually lasts about a week or 2. That's the average, right? And then what happens at stage 2 is you get this informed pessimism. And informed pessimism is basically where you go, oh God, this didn't take longer than what I thought. It's just more effort. You're telling me I've got to do this marathon that my mates have signed me up for. I've got to do 4 runs a week. I can't do that. Or if someone is following, for example, this is where the yo-yo diet comes in, right? A low-carb diet, or I'm eating a carnivore diet. You're telling me I can never eat out on a social event. Are you telling me I can't even have a rice cake? And if I do that, I've completely fallen off. And that's where they sort of realise this thing and they go, sod this ain't for me. And unfortunately, 90% of people get here and they get to stage 3. And it sounds like a horrible place to be. I don't want to be there. I like visiting mountains and hiking, but I don't want to go in the valley of despair. But that's basically where everyone quits, right? And they go, I've had enough. This isn't for me. You've fallen off the wagon 1 or 2 or 3 times. And you know what happens? They wait 2 or 3 months. They repeat the cycle. And so they wait, 2 or 3 months. They repeat the cycle and they keep repeating it. And that is people trying new things and they never kind of get to where they want to be. And the more times that you do this, the less likely you are to succeed. So how do you actually get past this? Well, if you've got the right accountability in place, you have the right plan in place, you have all of these things in place, you can get to informed optimism, which is basically where you've overcome these challenges, you kind of know what is required of you, and then you'll start to see results. You get to sort of a week 3 or 4, and you're like, okay, Adam told me that, you know, my weight is going to go up and down, nothing to worry about there, seem to be trending overall, you know, I've got some periods where I actually feel quite hungry, that's normal, what should I do when I'm hungry? I should maybe go to those snacks or do X, Y, and Z that Adam told me to do, all of these kind of things. That's where, like, you do that, and then ultimately where most people want to be is number 5, where it's a complete habit, right? So the reason I do, like, for example, in my coaching, I do 90 days in my typical coaching programs, because it's more than long enough to see progress, right? More than long enough to troubleshoot a few little things, and it's not too long, like, mentally to commit to. It's very, like, doable for everyone, and you can create habits in 90 days, like massive habits you can continue, like, on your own, right? But ultimately, this is the point where you want to get to, where everything becomes like second nature. You're not even tracking your calories every single day and all that kind of stuff, right? So very important. And just the mindset shifts here. like I said, have those challenges and just build them into your plan. You need to go into next week and go, okay, I might be hungry on Friday, or I've got these 2 social events. I'm not going to let that derail me. What can I do earlier in the week to do X, Y, and Z? There's loads of different challenges that come up, right? Sometimes they're unexpected, like, hey, we need you to work an extra 4 hours tonight. Sorry. Well, be prepared for that, right? And remember, weekly calories are more importantly than daily calories. So think about weekly wins versus just daily perfection. And remember, if it took you, right, 10 years or 5 years to get to the point where you are now and you want to make a change, you shouldn't expect quick fixes of a week or 2, right? If it took you 1 year of bad habits, it's going to take you longer than a week or 2 to kind of do it. And just have that baked into the reality of the situation. If you do that, you'll have like a bulletproof mindset going into all of this. And like I said, a bad day doesn't equal a bad week. Very common. You get to, you you think you're having a good week. You go out and you're like, I've even planned my social event. And in the end, you just went overboard. You went over your calories. Don't worry about it. It's not the thing that happens to you. It's your reaction to that thing. It's all about your mindset. That's what keeps you going long term. You get victories and you see progress in many ways. It's not just scale weight, obviously. It's like, how are you feeling? Let's say your scale weight didn't go down for a week or 2, right? How are you feeling? How are your workouts? How is your waistline? What are your measurements like? Are you feeling stronger in the gym? How are you sleeping? There's loads of other ways of measuring progress, right? So bear that in mind as well. And make sure that you have people around you, right? The 5 people around you that you spend the most time with are usually a good indicator of what your habits are going to be like. So something for you to think about there. And Jemima is an amazing example of like long-term consistency. When she came to me, she very much panicked about food. She's like, I see all this sort of stuff online, don't know what to do. She was one of these people that was like, I avoid wearing certain clothes because I just can't wear that. Like, I look just awful, right? That's how she felt. And then after, again, implementing all of the stuff that I showed you today, she's basically, what I always say is she's able to be in the same place, completely same location, but completely different person. This is like 44 pounds, which is like, what's that, like 20 kilos or something like that? Crazy, right? And that took her 6 months, a little under 6 months to do, and she's actually sort of continued to make like more progress and refine. And now she's got like a much better relationship with food. She always used to send me pictures of pizza and stuff. She's like, is this good? Is this bad? I'm like, don't worry about it, right? Stick to the basics and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, she now is like, how to deal with it. And the last thing to just make it all tied together is you need to make this stick in the real world with work, family, and social events, right? So if I was building a 90-day plan for you right now, what I'd say is you need to spend the first 1 to 2 weeks building the foundation of the habit, right? And establish that. So that's like, just do the tracking, just do the thing, and just do the thing that you said you were going to do, and just be consistent with it. You would be amazed at how much you will benefit from just the consistency of it and how much better you feel about yourself, right? And then if you do the things that I've told you to implement here, you will get to week 3 and 6 is where you start to see the momentum. You're like, okay, cool. I'm now dropped the first 1, 2, 3 kilos. I'm down 2, 4, 6 pounds, whatever it is. You start to build momentum, right? 7 and 10, like once you've been doing something for like, a fraction over 2 months, you really start to, get that momentum. You start to see continued accelerated growth. You feel better about it, and it starts to become a lot of habit. And by the time you get to the end of like a 90-day period, you can actually integrate all of this into your lifestyle, and you can make it a lot more of a habit, right? Very, very important. So that's like how I would sort of structure 90 days and kind of like what to expect. And these are just some examples of some people that have, lost all of this and implemented all of this into their diet. And these are the results that they've seen, right? So Kat and Cesc, I've got, like, to be honest with you, every month I've got a conveyor belt of a lot more testimonials that I should use. Everyone says, why haven't you put me on your page, Adam? Like, and I'm like, I'm getting there. But is it possible to know everything that I've told you today and still just fail? Well, if you don't have any personalized feedback, right, or you don't make any adjustments, and you have no accountability, you won't. you need some accountability, whether that was like me, whether that was like your friends, whether that is your spouse, your partner, your friendship group. Find something that keeps you accountable. If you don't have the accountability, you won't do it. Everyone needs it, right? You have to have something that keeps you in check. What you do need is the opposite. Essentially, something that is personalized to you, something that you can make feedbacks on, so that when you're having a challenge, you have something that someone to help you sort of adjust and overcome those plateaus. And like I said, you need something that has support for you, right? Luckily, girlfriend's downstairs. Whenever she's got a problem, she's like, Adam, go and make me something. That's her accountability. But most people won't have that. But make sure you have someone that's supportive of your goals, that like you check in with. It's really important, right? So there's 3 things that you can essentially do at the end of this call, right? You can keep doing what you've been doing, and if you've come here wanting to change, hopefully you're not going to do that. Or you can start using the stuff that I've basically taught you in this and kind of gone over in this presentation, and hope that you stay the course. You can absolutely do that. And what I'll do now, if anyone does want to work with me, I'll just let them know there is a way for people that kind of want to work with me. I'll just kind of go through that now. Working with me, a good way to kind of put that is like, I always say is, you can have a mechanic tell you how to go and change your tire, right? But there's nothing like calling out the RAC and getting them to do it for you, and then also learn on the spot, right? So yeah, if you work with me, like I said, I've done this many times. I'll show you how like my coaching works. I'm very upfront and honest, and just to let you know, this will probably be one of the last intakes, because after this I've got a big focus on next book, and there's an app that's releasing sort of later in the year. So if you do want to work with me on a more like on a closer basis, this might be one of the last times, just as an FYI. But if you're someone who's wanting to lose 15 to 25 pounds or more, equally, if you're someone who wants to tone up, if you essentially want to look and feel your best, this is ideal for you. So if you want to skyrocket your confidence and, like I said, feel amazing in the next 90 days and beyond, that's who it's for. And 15 to 25 pounds is usually just the most common number that people want to lose when they work with me, right? And I actually run this as like a really cool case study, where I'm not going to like brandish you out on the internet, as you've probably seen, but we use it as a real cool way on the masterclasses to say thank you for you guys, and then basically we can get great testimonials that are just, even if they're just written, just works really well, without doing any crazy diets and stuff. So I'll let you know what you get on the coaching when you work with me. You will get a personalized plan that is like specific to exactly what you need to make everything super clear. And we don't just write this out and give you a piece of paper. We get on a call with you. We stay on the call as long as we need. We work out where you are, what you need, make everything completely specific to you, right? So you either work with on the first call, you'll be either with like me, Amy, or Inka. It's only, I have a small team. I am basically the core of the coaching. So you will see a lot of me. You'll get bored of me in the coaching. You get weekly progress one-to-one check-ins. So if you want that bulletproof accountability, and you want, like, we basically get everyone to fill out a check-in so that they tell us exactly where they're at. We give them feedback every single week with what is good, what is bad, all that kind of stuff. And we do that with like a little video review, so that works really well. We also do follow-up calls, very important. We don't just leave you on your own, right? We basically get you to schedule these calls in, and we make you do these things. We don't leave you to it. You get a notification to do the thing. And if you haven't done the thing you need to do, right, me, Amy, and Inka, we message you. We're like, do the thing. That's what you want, right? Someone who is actually on the other end. And that's why I only have like a handful of people that I work with every month. I host 3 live calls a week as well. Obviously not like 300 to 600 people like my masterclasses or whatever. But I'm on there with a small group of people, like a handful of people. Get all your questions answered. You'll have everyone who's here, as you can see, very like-minded people. Works really well. And someone asked, do I give meal plans? We give you exactly what you need. In terms of, some people will be like, cool, these are the macros and the protein and carbs, you do it for me, Adam, great. Other people want meal plans, some people want a mixture of, we work it all around what you need, right? So we give you that kind of like one-to-one level of support. But definitely turn up to all the calls. Oh, it's also good to mention as well, get like half people, a good amount of people are from like US and different time zones. Doesn't matter what time zone you're in, we work all the calls and everything around you. Obviously I'm UK, but we've got like 3 live calls at different times, so they work really well. We'll give you the workouts that you need as well, so we'll give you 3 guided workouts. If there's something else that you need that is like a bit more specific, you just let us know. We create everything for you, so don't worry, it's all like custom built. But we always guide you to what we know works, okay? You're part of the Inner Circle group as well, so you can basically chat and engage, and you'll get free access to all of the ebooks, all of the extras that are going to be coming in the next few months, which are going to be some pretty cool things. So if all of that sounds good to you and you're like, Adam, I'd love to work with you in a closer capacity and get 2 people watching you, not just me. You'll have Amy or Inka as well, who have been with me for 6 years, not randos, right? These are like my special task force that help me with everything. Usually you'll see these run for like $9.99, but if you want to come in and do it for half price, you absolutely can. No pressure from me. They're $4.95 for the initial 90 days. You can also split those, or if there's something else that you need, you can always just let me know. But I'm very upfront with that, and we try to offer like loads of value. We know that a lot of people charge crazy fees for like all these one-to-one coaching and stuff, but you can guarantee that you'll get me. We will look after you. We're all about relationship building as well, okay? So it's not just about getting you in and giving you a plan. It's like we want to get to know you, right? You'll get to know us all, right? Just like you see me here and how I am online, that's what you see is like what you get, right? You'll also get, like I said, all your specific plans. We give you a few bonuses, and you'll get access to all the extra meal plans and stuff that we create. And then the cool thing as well is like, Adam, what happens if we want to message you? Well, you know what? You can message us as much as you want. We chat to you one-to-one. You have lots of different elements, right? You've got starting call, go over everything. We give you weekly accountability. Within the week, you can message me as much as you want. You have me and Amy on there to answer all your questions. You'll get access to everything. You get all the workouts. Everything is kind of there so that it's bulletproof so that you can succeed, right? And we also give you, for extra peace of mind, in case you're like, just on the fence, right? We give you like 7-day guarantee. So if for some reason you come in and you absolutely milk everything for the first week and you're like, Adam, this isn't for me, you lied to me, this is not what you said it was going to be, which it won't be, then we just give you that as a peace of mind, because we want to work with people who are serious about change. If you come in, I promise you'll love it. You'll get like awesome results. And like I said, I do this as a part of my business because I enjoy it the most. You'll see me hang around on like all of my one-to-one calls, all of these calls, and all of my group calls every week, as long as people need me, because I genuinely want to help people. So hopefully that all makes sense. Short thing here is, if you want one of the 10 spaces on this call, there'll be a few more that release, but these spaces will go pretty quick. I'm going to be honest. You can scan that QR code, and it will basically bring up the page, or you can just message me interested on like WhatsApp. You've probably got my WhatsApp, which will come through to me, or Instagram or wherever. Just either do that, message the word interested, or scan that QR code. You can basically get like straight on the page, have a little dig around. You'll see it's everything that I said it is. And then you can basically start to book your calls from like tomorrow. I'll probably knowing how it usually goes is like 3 of you usually book the first call like 9:30 and like 10 a.m. like, because they just want to get rolling, which is good. So that QR code will work, and I'll just leave this up as well over here, just because people were like, oh, can you go back and get the ebook? And so coaching on the left. If you want to find out about the coaching, just scan this one. If you want to just grab the ebook, which is on offer, you can scan that one on the right. I'm absolutely sure whatever one of those two you get, you will be pretty happy. So hopefully you've got a ton of value with that, and if you are on in the coaching, then looking forward to working with you. And now we'll do the extra fun bit, which is, let me see if I can unmute everyone, and whoops, I don't want to get this open. Okay. What you need to do, every single masterclass, I know I do this, if everyone's joined this before, I always get people to like raise their hand. Don't raise your hand like this, right? Don't do that, right? Do the do that thing where you there's a little thing somewhere. Someone do the raise hand emoji, and you can start unmuting yourselves. Yeah, that's it. Like, there you go. Oh my, geez, they're professionals. Look at them, professional hand raisers. Yeah. If you've got a question, just leave your hands up, and I'm just going to come over to you one to one. If you want to ask me anything, and then you can just fire away. So we'll go allow, unmute, and we'll say get rid of that. Keen bunch today. Excellent. All right, I will start off. Hopefully this works. I'll leave those two up there in case anyone wants to look at them in the meantime. Joanne, is that right? If you've got a question, how are we doing?
That me? Yeah, good, thank you. So
hang on, like that. 1 second. Let me just make sure. Lucky my mic was on, by the way, because my AirPods were not connected. So let me just connect this. There we go. All right, go for it, Joanne. So you're saying... So, yeah. So basically you're saying that you're doing workouts, you're doing compound lists, but you feel tired from time to time doing it, yeah? Are you in a deficit in terms of calories? Yeah, I mean, you'd probably want to look a little bit further into it in terms of what your split is of calories, basically your macros. But typically speaking, if you go onto keto diets, you'll have less energy. They're less efficient for like building muscle and stuff like that. Like if you get your protein in, like it doesn't really make a big difference, but carbs are your like your energy, your body's primary energy source. So I'd usually say, like, honestly, a balance of everything. It's usually things around it rather than like the specific numbers. So again, like without going into too much detail, you'd probably want to look at like your food, your sleep, what do your workouts actually look like, how much you pushing yourself in those workouts, and what's kind of actually going in under the hood. So there could be many things, but I would look at just look at your intensity of your workouts. Again, like you get some people and they're crazy and they just like constantly training to failure, and they're like, I'm always tired. So again, it sort of depends on a few things. So yeah, maybe you need a coffee, Joanne. But yeah, I'd probably look at that. But if there could be many factors there, it's probably quite a broad one, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. If something else comes to mind, or you want to ask me something else afterwards, just fire it over, and I'll get it answered. Right. Nice one. Justine, I'll fly over to you if you can unmute. Hello. Sure. Good question. You're basically saying, like, should you be deducting and all that kind of stuff and moving your macros and stuff around and calories, right? Yeah. I would yeah. I usually Yeah, and I usually turn off all the exercise stuff, right? The best way to go about it, like here's a good rule of thumb for most people, is that if you're not doing anything intense, right, or you're doing pockets of longer exercises like long runs. I've got some people who are working with me, they're training for London Marathon, all that kind of stuff. Um, then just keep your calories the same, right? Flat, and just disregard anything that the apps and stuff are telling you, right? Because it's the weekly stuff that is most important. The only reason I said about certain pockets of exercise, that if you're doing like an hour of cardio, you're going to be starving on that day, and you might want to like adjust higher calories and lower calories on certain days. For most people, just like whenever I get people on calls, I go, right, where are you at now? What do you need, and how to get there, right? So it's like when you actually bake in the fact that, okay, I'm going to do 3 workouts a week, I'm doing 10,000 steps, and my nutrition is roughly the same kind of each day. Just keep the calories the same. Honestly, there's no benefit, especially like doing mental gymnastics about like MyFitnessPal, adding and deducting and getting disheartened about that kind of stuff. Mm. Yeah. Or yeah. Usually you'd be surprised, all of you. Less is more. You don't need to add more stuff. Most people just need to keep things like really simple. Like you'd be amazed, right? So good. Good stuff. Next one across. I've got a Zoom user. Um, one of the ones who are, any of those two that I don't know what your names are because it's a Zoom user. One of the ones who's got hands up. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, go for it. Name? Hi, Debbie. How you doing? Good, thanks. Sure. Yeah, got it. Good question. Something that comes up a lot. So when it comes to fasting, there is no benefit in terms of fat loss results and all of that kind of stuff if you equate calories. If you ate, I'm just making this up, 3 meals a day, and you had someone who is fasting, um, they've done multiple like randomized controlled trials and all that sort of stuff on this before. There is no significant benefit for it. If you feel that is an eating schedule that works for you, because for example, I'm just making this up. Let's say you eat 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hang on, I've got echo somewhere. So, yeah, I think it's that one. Yeah. If you eat at 9 to 3 and you don't want to eat anything after that, and that gives you less food noise, so to speak, then you can do that. Um, Hang on, sorry, I think there was a Jules. I had to just mute you for a minute. Hang on, sorry, so I was getting an echo. Yeah, there's basically no benefit to it, and some people use fancy words like autophagy and all of this sort of stuff, right? There's nothing that a calorie deficit sustained over the same amount of period of time will not give you. And also, when you are not doing intermittent fasting, it's a better way of eating, you could put it, for retaining and building muscle, because fasting in general is not conducive to muscle building. Like there's actually not much difference. Like I said, it's the one that works for you, but that's kind of what I'd say. I wish I could give, if I thought something had a genuine benefit, or even if something has like marginal half significant benefits, I will always let you know what they are. You know, sometimes they're like minor supplements and stuff, but that's kind of my take on the fasting thing. You are most welcome. um, D Smith. Oh, there we go. Fire away. Yeah, no, yeah, go for it, Dan. Go for it, Dan. Yeah. 100% yes. The only reason it's women is just that it's just that's kind of like what I gear a lot of like my calorie portions to and everything. Usually, I can't be bothered to put like 3 QR codes on here. There is a page that also goes to guys, but when you come in, if you're a guy, you'll actually usually you'll come through to me anyway. So you it's all tailored to you, so you don't have to worry. I've got like probably got about 10 guys in the coaching with me in the minute, so absolutely is you'll enjoy it if you're a guy. So the principles stay the same for everyone. You just need to find out. It's just different demographics have different challenges, and they relate to different things. You know, so like the word a good one. So muscle building for guys works really well, but you have to you well, don't have to, but you know when you work with ladies, you have to use the words like toning up or shaping up and all that kind of stuff. But they mean the same thing. The protocols are the same. So. Nice one, Dan. Yeah, if anyone books a call, you'll probably go into my calendar or one of the other two's calendar like tomorrow. So if I do chat to any of you, you'll look forward to that. Nice one, Dan. I'll fly over to Ellie. You're welcome. Good stuff. Good. Mhm. 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 I think I was going to say, like, you know, I think everyone's got. Thanks for sharing that, by the way, Ellie. And hopefully, this second, third, or whatever masterclass it is gives you a few new nuggets of information, gives you something a little bit different every time. Um, but you could just try to be as consistent as you can. I didn't know if I sort of cut you off with like a question or something, but you know, yeah. But you know, don't ever think same thing for everyone, right? Don't ever think that you have to do everything, right? So what I often tell people to do is like, let's say you're starting from a baseline of I'm not really doing anything at the minute. Just focus on just tracking for a week. You'll just learn loads. You'll kind of do stuff there, right? Meal prep for 3 days. It doesn't have to be for like the whole week. You don't have to be absolutely perfect. And then each week, if you can just add one habit or one something small, let's say you just track your food and you didn't even care about your calories. Cool. Next week, track the calories. Next week after that, let's try to focus a little bit more on protein. Next week after that, same thing with fiber. Same thing for like steps. You know, if you can just marginally add in a few extra things, or if I'm on average training once a week, can I make that twice a week? And you'd be surprised at how habits can stack up after sort of 2, 3, 4 months. really. But I totally understand that everyone's got like different challenges, and I'm not sure exactly what yours are. But usually the thing that you don't want to do is the thing that you need to do the most, right? It's the thing that you always avoid, that is on your shoulder, kind of going, should I go out? I feel tired. All of this kind of stuff is usually the thing that you've got to do. And I've worked with lots of different people who have different medical conditions, different challenges, and all that kind of stuff in life. And we always try to get them to do the most that they reasonably can, and they always feel better for it. So that's probably my, you could call it, spiel on consistency and trying to be the best that you can within your own situation. Yeah, I mean, it depends on, like, if you had something specific that you wanted to message me on afterwards, like, more than happy to like chat with you, or like go if that's kind of like what you were asking. And I always do. Whether someone books a call with me now and they get the coaching, for example, and then afterwards you're like, oh, this isn't for me. Like, you can do that if you want. Like I said, I'm not gonna. You've got like 7 days, or just message me afterwards, and then any specifics, I'll do my best to help you out and see if I can help you. If I don't think I can, then I'll pass you over to someone who I think might be able to. If I think I can, I'll let you know. All right. Nice one. Have a good evening. Good stuff. All right. Zoom user number 2. There's another one. See if I can get them to unmute. Hang on a minute. He's unmuted. That's what. Hi. If you've got a question, fire away, because the other one, I'm not sure what their names are, so you might as well go for it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Are you tracking these nuts and stuff and whatever, or are you not tracking them? You got it. I hear ya. I hear ya. I hear ya. I can already tell you. What was your name? Sorry, Vanessa. Thanks for sharing, Vanessa. I can already tell you the devil is in the details. If you are not tracking, I promise you, that is where the answer lies. Nuts and seeds are healthy and good for you. And by the way, you don't have to put them in. Like, don't let anyone tell you that you have to put nuts in and you have to create a Greek yogurt bowl in a certain way. They could just, you'll just find that nuts and seeds calories rack up very quickly, kind of like olive oil, right? So once you start tracking, your mind will be blown and you'll be like, oh my god, that thing where I look at a chocolate bar or I make a bowl of granola doesn't happen anymore because I know what's in it. As soon as you know what is in it, right, you can repeat that again and again and again. So this is why I say, like, you don't have to track everything forever. Just know what a handful of nuts is, what a handful of almonds are, etc., etc. And you just need to be close when you're tracking. But if you're not tracking at all, I am 98% sure the answer is in the details. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like earlier I was talking about like healthy foods. Everything counts. I promise you, you can absolutely put on weight month on month eating salmon, avocado, and olive oil every day, even though those foods are really healthy. It's just that those foods are harder to eat. Like, the more of those foods that you eat, like, as a proportion of your diet, because they're healthier, they're higher in protein. It's just harder to do that, right? So I promise you, this is your exercise for the week, Vanessa. Is you're going to weigh out a few things tomorrow for breakfast, right? And then you're going to message me back, and you're going to be like, "Oh my god, Adam, you see that thing? I thought there was like 400 calories in that." You're going to be like, "There's 850 calories in this Greek yogurt," and you'll be shocked. I've seen it. Trust me, I've seen crazy stuff in 15 years. So you wouldn't be. I'm sure you're not on that end of the extreme, but yeah, the answer is probably there. All right. Nice one, Vanessa. Fly over to Lucy, I think. Working our way around the room. How are we doing? Go. Would you say type 1 or type 2? Yeah. Short answer, yes. In those sort of situations, you do need to like work around it in terms of like foods and carbs and stuff like that for sure. Um, so short answer is yes. If you wanted to ask me something like a little bit more specific after the call, more than happy to like answer any sort of particular questions there. Did you have any other particulars like around that is around type 1? It depends. Yeah, you basically sometimes there's a little bit of like sort of like trial and error. And the good thing like about like in a situation like yours, what you'd do is you'd sit down and I would kind of half know like kind of what direction to take it in, but it's also good to talk to you to be like this works in my specific situation because you know type 1 and type 2 all this kind of stuff, right? Like there's definitely certain scenarios where you're like, well, I do well kind of up until this point, or these foods work better for me up until this point, and then you kind of like work around that. Um, but yeah, I'd say probably one for like your specific situation to probably deep dive into that a little bit more. Maybe on like I said, happy to do a call with you afterwards if you want me to. Yeah, yeah, do that. Drop me a WhatsApp. And I can help you out as much as I can. Did you have any other particular question about like anything else? You had a second one? Or was that were those? Hmm? Yeah, you have to. Yeah. Depending on what you're making, honestly, all you need to do is know roughly what is in that pot, what is on that tray, whatever you've made, and as long as you roughly weigh it out, I promise you that is as close as you need to be. Um, like, if you take like for example one of my tray bakes, and let's say you mix it and you slosh it all together, or you've made a soup, right? Four even portions, that you're good to go. Don't fret about the small stuff. Whether one has like 450 calories, the other one's got 510. One has 35 grams of protein, one has 41. Don't worry about it. I promise you, it's not that important. And if indeed you are the person who ends up eating the entire meal prep because you've made it for yourself, even less important because it all ends up the same. Because like we talk about, it's the average and stuff over a week. Does that make sense? Excellent, nice one. Uh, Claire Melvin, how are we doing? Mhm. For easy, so you basically want some. You say some easy, healthy snacks that you can sort of take on the move. Got it. Got it. Got it. I'll just fly to answer two quick questions. Someone, I think Lucy asked me about like my WhatsApp number and stuff. That's yeah. Everyone said thanks. Yeah, great. I hope you got loads of value. WhatsApp number should be at the bottom of my emails. You'll see it says message me. Right, do that, or go to Instagram and then I'll pick that up. Like one of the two. But I'll help you out there. The easy thing that I can do, this is not me plugging my book, but if you get the recipe ebook, I promise you'll get I'm not sure if you got it or not, but there's loads of stuff in there that you can, that is very portable. The sort of stuff that I'd be making, for like quick and easy stuff that you can have on the move, anything that is like wraps, really easy. You can freeze them and stuff, and I've got tons of recipes on my page, like in the ebook, if you want it a bit more accessible and you want all the nutritional value and stuff. If you're ever on the move, like sometimes, I don't know if this sort of applies to you, but maybe a useful one for everyone else. People go, what about protein bars? Or what if I have to eat on the move? If you can get a protein bar that has, I would say, 20 grams of protein for every 200 calories, I think you're doing really well. And just some fruit that kind of goes with it. But for me, like I said, I always make loads of wraps. I usually have Tupperware. Like I'm usually like driving or scooting around. Just trying to see any other ideas. A real good one that requires like you can eat them cold. You ever make any like not like protein bread, I don't know what to call it, like banana bread and all that kind of stuff. Do that. They're really good. Unbelievably easy. You literally dump it in a blender. If you want the best one to make, if you ever see it like on my page or in an ebook, make the banana and date bread. That is the best one. Where like, I had copious amounts of people going, Adam, you were right. That is absolutely the best one. Make that one. And the lemon blueberry muffins, they were my yeah, good. Yeah, so those ones I thought worked sort of pretty well. And just do that really. Just have to bring it with you. So sure. Depends. I guess it depends on how many calories and stuff you've got left, and what what your goals are. But you can absolutely like have anything at any point in the day. Like really, like it sounds really sort of simple and basic without kind of giving you a specific answer. It's like if you're hungry, just eat something that you've made. Yeah, eat. Just make something. And if you've done some meal prep, great. If you've got something like some banana bread, or you've got you want to make a Greek yogurt bowl. Anything. I eat sometimes weird stuff in between meals. Like I don't really have. I'm meant to have like a small snack after this, and I'm just gonna probably at 10 o'clock or whenever I finish this, I'm literally gonna go home, go downstairs, make a bowl of Greek yogurt, dump some dark chocolate blueberries on it, put some honey on it. That's it. Because so it just depends. Sometimes I wouldn't usually eat that at 10, but I'm usually kind of guided by my goals, so to speak. So nothing is particularly off limits in terms of timings and stuff, but make what you enjoy. Good stuff. Pav, doing pretty well here. Working our way around. How are we doing, Pav? Amazing. Congrats. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. How long have you been like plateaued at the same weight? Okay, if you've been plateaued the same way and you've sort of been sort of firefighting by trying a lot of different things, right? I can tell you that the one thing that won't help, sadly, for everyone, is increasing your calories. That won't be it. What I would do as a like, and I advise people to do this anyway, at like every 2 months, right? If you're someone who's like on a bit of a journey or you plateau, whatever, right? Is just write down just recalculate your calories, everything like manually, right? Like if you've been tracking your food and all that kind of stuff, just go back. I have like a troubleshooting step where I'm sort of like, it's always like an if this then that, if this then that. So just go back and like go, okay, this is my BMR, this is my, oh yeah, I'll give you something, all something to do in the meantime, if I can find it, because I'm a nice person. I'll put my calorie calculator in the chat for anyone. I am going to send it to you on Tuesday, but I know that all of you can't wait to get your hands on my secret calorie calculator. This is from 15 years of experience, by the way. You can have a look at that. I put that in the chat for you. But I would go and calculate everything manually, Pav. So what I would personally do is, you could use my calculator, it'll probably give you a pretty similar number. Just figure out what the BMR is. Figure out, just add about 130 for your thermic effective food. And then just calculate your steps, okay, accurately. So roughly 400 calories for every 10,000 steps that you do, and then calculate it for your workouts. And then once you've got that, create your deficit number. It might be close to what you're already doing, and then you need to actually see if you're fulfilling on that side of the equation. You're like, well, am I actually getting 10,000 steps? Am I actually being consistent with X, Y, and Z? And if you're someone who tracks really consistently and you're not seeing progress either way, and you're confident you've been tracking consistently, I would say for like 3 weeks, right? Just drop your calories by 200. I promise you the answer to the next round of weight loss, to breaking through that last plateau, is you have to keep your protein and fiber roughly the same, and the calories need to drop. Something has to give. There has to be something that comes from somewhere. If you want to be smart about it, you probably want those 200 calories to come from, I don't know, like they probably come from carbs. They just naturally do, because you want to probably keep your protein and stuff quite high, or fats if you've got the space for it. But I'd also ask you, Paul, are you someone who is hungry, like, or are you not hungry? You can absolutely do it through more steps. If you're not hungry, that is a sign to me. If you've been not hungry for a long time, right, you've got room to push your calorie deficit. It just is what it is, right? I promise you. And if you drop your calories in the next week or so, you're like, oh, a little bit of hunger. That's actually okay. Like, that's the whole part of the journey. And then you kind of like adapt and you mitigate some of that hunger by eating whole clean foods, if you can call it that, with a good amount of protein and fiber targets. And if you hit your protein and fiber targets, the hunger shouldn't really be too much of an issue. But if you've been like not hungry for like 6 months, I'm not saying it's been that has been you for 6 months, but if it's been close to that, then the answer is going to be drop your calories. So yeah, that's what I would do. Excellent, good stuff. Sean, how are we doing? I'll fly over to you, and then I'll go to Jenny. Good. Oh, Sean, just there we go. You've hit the unmute button. You're doing well. Go for it. Mm-hmm. Sure. So remind me what you said, that you're veggie, or okay. No soya at all, right? So your friends are going to be Low fat Greek yogurt, cottage cheese in low fat or regular form is going to be a good option. So basically, low fat dairy, if any options that work for you. You'd be amazed at how many weird options are out there that you probably don't even know about. Egg whites are going to be really good. Um, you can absolutely have protein powders that will be suitable for you if you're happy to do that. That will be like veggie or non-soya or that kind of stuff. That they work really well. Something that you can combine into like a Greek yogurt, and you can. That's why I have Greek yogurt like a lot. I usually go like Greek yogurt, scoop of protein powder if I really want to bump up the protein, and that will probably get you halfway to where you need to be for the day. And you said like apart from beans and legumes and stuff like that, right? Oh, you do, yeah, yeah. So, mm, yeah, sure. So, like I said, low fat dairy and eggs and protein is probably going to be your best shot. You can quite decently get to your protein target as a veggie. I'd say most veggies that I work with are like they can make changes and should be fine. But I understand that you definitely need to be a bit conscious, especially if you can't have soy, because I imagine that takes out stuff like tofu, etc. Right? Yeah, yeah. I thought so. Yeah. So yeah, I'd say give those a go, Sean. You are excellent. Good. So, usually I say people, sometimes you don't always get a lot of stuff for free, but today's your lucky day. Everyone. You got me for, no strings attached for a couple of hours. So I hope you've got some good value out of that. Good. Jenny, how we doing? Oh, I need you to unmute. Yeah, 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 Jenny, yeah. Jenny Booker. Um, Hang on, wait there. I think. Wait, if you want to, if you do want to talk, Jen, you got to just unmute yourself. I'm not sure if you were. I saw that you were sort of actually looking for the unmute button. Let's see if I can prompt her to unmute. Oh, I've got you loud and clear. Go for it. Amazing. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, 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 yeah. I hear you. Do you feel Do you mind me asking? Do you feel hungry? No, no, no. Okay. So okay. So for sure, the devil will be in the details. Because oftentimes when people come to me with a similar question, I'm just using my coaching as an example. When you deep dive into each specific thing, everything has to be like troubleshooted. You have to go, okay, are you being accurate with your food, right? Like, you're eating healthy and all that, but how accurate are you honestly with your food? This is not a question I'm saying to you, with everyone, right? Yeah, and then they go, well, probably I'm okay. The weekends I don't really track. Okay, well, you need to do that first, okay? And then it's like, are you tracking everything consistently and accurately? Okay, cool. And then you might look at a few little things of how they do it. And then you need to look at the steps, and you need to look at the equation of the numbers, because sometimes they will take numbers in their calories and whatever that are not always correct. So you basically have to look at little things. You know, how are you working out? Are you progressing workouts? How much of your calories are protein and fiber? That sounds like it's kind of where it needs to be for you. But I would also say that regardless of where you're at, I mean, again, you could be having 1,300 calories truly, but if you're truly having 1,300 calories, I would expect you to be losing weight on that. I would say that's a little bit on the lower side, especially given that you're like 5'9", right? But if you're not losing tracking 1,300 calories after 2 to 3 weeks, I would double check your numbers, and if you're not making progress there, you have to reduce by 200 calories. I Go on. Sure. Exactly. It depends. Like I said, like everything, everyone's the so if you take like thyroid and metabolism for example, right? This is something for everyone. If you are slow or fast metabolism, right? At the at the extreme ends, right? It usually only accounts for 10 to 15%. Okay, like it could be. It's not always the answer, but sometimes people are like, oh, I got slow metabolism. That's what it is. I'm not saying that that's it is or isn't what you have, but just something to bear in mind. So let's say your number was 1390, whatever I gave you, or 1300, right? And let's say there is a discrepancy of 10 to 15%, right? That could mean that that deficit number might need to be 1200, maybe, right? Everyone has a number, and that number is the number that works for you in terms of like the right ratio of this and that, and it's the right rate, and it's so you have to find out what that number is, and you have to sort of be consistent with it. But ultimately, whatever someone is doing, if they are not seeing progress with that something, there is a lever within one or two or three things. You could do more steps, you can reduce the calories a little bit, you can do a combination of both, but you have to do something in the equation to push it in your favor. That's no. You don't need to do that. Like, you don't need to reverse diet and all that kind of stuff. That, like, what is actually happening, I'm going into like depths here, but like what is actually happening, right? When someone goes, oh my god, I feel like my metabolism is slowing. I'm on low calories. I've been on low calories for ages. Kind of going deeper into a deficit, right? What is actually happening? You know what they do? Is like you're less active than you were before, and getting up and moving around and doing all these little things where before, when you were less hungry, you were less tired, you do that, and that accounts for an extra 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 calories, right? When you're slow and lethargic, you take an example like bodybuilders, right? I mean, I know we're not bodybuilders here, right? But you take them examples, they diet extreme, right? They are just like, oh my god, I've just got like zero energy, like they just don't move, and that's it. And if you look at them as an example, I know that people don't, I never talk about that kind of stuff, right? But you could do carb cycling, you could do all this sort of stuff, you could do fasting, all that kind of stuff, right? But if you look at people who actually want to drop body fat, what will people really get them to do? They just get them to restrict their calories consistently in a controlled environment, s- you need to make sure that you're getting in enough fats for like hormone function, which usually for women, yeah, yeah, sure. Like, so if you're getting 50 a day, you're covering your basis as a female. But the answer is, yeah, without kind of going too far into it, is if you know that you've been consistent doing the same thing, you have to treat your weight loss sometimes like a business, right? And you have to kind of be like, okay, this isn't working. Maybe I change one or two things. You see what happens. If you don't want to reduce your food, do more steps. How many steps do you do a day? Make it 10 to 12. You'd be surprised, right? Not much. It's an extra 15 minutes of walking, right? An extra 15 minutes of walking is about an extra 3 to 5,000 calories a month that you burn. Go on. Okay. Great. You can do that. Yeah. Yeah. Americans, I've got clients that like it's quite funny on my Monday evening calls. We've got like 50 split of like US and 50 split of UK, and the US people are like, yeah, like protein in coffee is a thing. You can get it in Starbucks. We're like, doesn't exist here, but it's probably gonna make its way over because it's a buzzword. But if you want to put it in, absolutely fine. Cool. It's fine. Of course. No. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Your bodies are smart. It doesn't care about 1 hour, 2 hours. Like, it's what you do in a day, right? Is the most important thing. Whether you have a protein shake on its own, you don't eat anything for 3 or 4 hours. Your body's usually doing stuff in its body from like the previous 24 hours. It's breaking down the steak. It's breaking down the quinoa or your vegetables from the day before. So, of course, of course. No. I hear you. Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, and look, the thing that you have to there always has to be a reality with like, let's say, lifestyle, with age, all of these sorts of things, right? The principles that worked when you were 30 and 40 still work, but the conditions are not the same. You know, it's like you know, I don't know, you don't have a lot of time, you don't move around. When you add all these things, it kind of adds up. Of course, there is some component of like, you know, sometimes your metabolism is a little bit slower. It can definitely account for stuff, you know, all the stuff that we kind of talked about, right? But yeah, the answer is probably back to square one. So you're gonna try it, you right? You're gonna message me at the end of the month. Let me know. I want to know. Go. Yeah, I know it is. I got contacted by Ninja Cream in and I didn't do it, but I know what it is. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Fine. Okay. Perfect. Honestly, that's how I do it. That's how you do it. I promise you, as long as the numbers fit, right? Like you said, treat it like a bank account. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? Honestly, yeah, I'll go on to Shrina and Mandy and ask them questions. But like, I know exactly what you mean because like, sometimes I see things and I'm like, people say things so convincingly sometimes online, and I'm like, wow, you know, I'm like, even I find that quite believable, you know. They say things that kind of make sense, you know, and they'll put it in a way, but like the thing is, nothing is policed online, so you have to like sift through the people that you think, you know, and most people, like I know for a fact, nearly zero content creators do what I do every month in terms of do like a class like this and take an hour, take 2-3 hours to talk to people, and unless you talk to people, you don't really get a feel for, you know. Mm, mm, yeah. Mm. Yeah, I promise you, you're doing it right, right? And I'll leave you with this, right? My weird dream, if you, well, it's not a dream, it would sound pretty sad, right? It's to create a big brother house, yeah, and then invite all of you lot in there and make you meals, and you'll see that it's you know, it's as simple as like what you said, like, you know, calories in, calories out, and it's just a matter of consistency. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Excellent. Have a good. You are most welcome, Jen. Shrina, sorry for that. That was sorry to keep you all waiting. That was hopefully a good chat anyway. Um, go for it. Got you loud and clear. Go. Mhm. Yep. Got it. Yeah. Good question. Good question. I would say, look, your body doesn't adapt in the way that you might be thinking or have been told, right? You can absolutely do longer than 6 weeks. Your body naturally reduces less. Sorry, as you get leaner and leaner, your body will require less calories to exist, so progress will naturally slow down, right? Now, as long as you feel good, you can keep going on a calorie deficit for as long as you want, right? It all depends on a bunch of factors, like how fast are you going, how small the deficit is. So let's say you're doing like a smooth, small, sustainable one for like, you know, Monday to Friday, you're in your deficit, and you go out on the weekends and you're kind of like, you know, maintenance or whatever. And let's say your average calorie deficit over the course of a week is like 300-400. That's something that you can probably maintain for like 3 to 6 months without even wanting a break, right? A good time to review is just review every 12 weeks and just see how you're feeling. You'll kind of know. And a good rule of thumb is that for every, keeping everything the same, for every 10 kilos that you lose, in order to keep up the same rate of weight loss that you were previously, you probably need to drop your calories by around 150 to 100, something like that. So that's kind of like a good ballpark, but there's no right or wrongs, you know. If you're doing something like, if you could call it a crash diet, like for a wedding or a beach holiday or something like that, you know, that's probably is going to be a temporary one. But each case is quite individual. Does that kind of make sense? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, be guided by your results and how you feel. If you're like, again, you go 12 weeks and you're like, I feel great. I have this momentum. I've got a bigger goal and I want to keep going. I'm not really that hungry. You keep going. There's no reason for you to stop. If you want to stop, you absolutely can. But I'm telling you, starvation doesn't exist in the way that some people will tell you online. It's nonsense. Like, starvation where your like body is, no, it's not that. It's something to do with the factors that are actually going on external of that, which is usually not tracking correctly. Maybe you've lost a ton of weight and you might need to readjust your calories, but it's something to do with what you are doing that might be slowing down progress if that is the case. But like, starvation doesn't exist in the way that people tell you online, I promise. Would I agree that doing more than 10,000 steps, the benefit is not that significant? Is that what you're asking me? Yeah. Absolutely. You absolutely benefit more. And if I could make the argument the other way, that I'm nitpicking here, but just to make the point, is that the difference between 10,000 to 15,000, you'll probably get more calorie burn than, and I'll tell you why. Because like your watch and stuff will pick up random bits of movement that you do in the day. Like, so let's say you did 0 to 8,000, right? Um, and you go to the toilet, you could pop around, and you're walking is kind of like half a, like you're standing and all that kind of stuff. That kind of gets factored in. It counts. It absolutely counts, right? But if you did a structured adding 5,000, the more you do, the better. I guarantee you, the more steps you do, the more it will benefit and speed up fat loss results if you can and want to do it. So don't let people. I don't even know if who's telling you over 10,000 steps is a bad thing. That's just not. You don't have to do more than 10, but you're absolutely getting the benefit. Promise. Depends what your goal is, but what I would do is have a hierarchy of um, things that you want to make sure that you get in order, right? So, like, sleep and calories should form the base, right? If I just switch that to something else that's a bit more like black and white, what, like, for example, I'm not going to hit my protein target, but should I focus more on getting my calorie target? Yeah, focus on that. If your focus is like on like, you're doing very general, like, weight loss, we could call it, um, steps is going to be a bigger factor in your overall daily equation than your workouts are, right? But then again, it's a bit nuanced, because if you're like, like, the difference between doing 2 workouts a week for strength compared to one is actually quite a big difference. But let's say you were like, oh, I'm dropping my workouts this week from 4 to 3 or from 3 to 2, less of a big deal. But yeah, make sure that you've got your hierarchy of stuff in order, and then assess that thing where you're like, oh, should I do this or should I focus on this? Make sure that the bottom stuff is ticked first, that you're sleeping well, that you've got your calories, and then after your calories, it's like your protein and your fiber after that, and then after that, it's like, I don't know, all the small stuff. And the same thing for like steps and workouts. Like, make sure that you get your steps in first, I would personally say. And if your goal is workouts, like, try your best to stick to it as best you can, but don't worry about if you don't do everything absolutely perfectly. Like, I skipped a workout on Tuesday because I just didn't have the time. I know this is like extreme example, but I was like, I'm so consistent overall, it is irrelevant. Like I just don't usually miss workouts, so kind of that's what I do. Put it into a hierarchy of stuff. No, it's yeah, absolutely fine to get that in. Right. Short answer is it's the daily totals that matter. Don't worry too much about protein powders in terms of like ingredients and stuff. It in itself is a processed product. That doesn't mean that it is bad. Um, you might have ones that you have preferences over, but it doesn't matter how you get that protein in. If you prefer to get it in because it helps you reach your daily target, that is the most important thing. I personally tried to get it in from mostly whole foods because I enjoy it more, but I use it as a tool. Absolutely, no, no, absolutely fine. Um, yeah. So short answer is yes. It's actually included in my 30 minutes. I'm actually extremely efficient. But I do like a sort of 2 to 3 minute dynamic stretch. Get straight into it. Right. Stretching is more important beforehand than after, unless you feel it's specific for you and what you need. In terms of like you have a specific. I don't know. I'm just making this up. You've got a really tight back or knee or hips that need to be stretched because of X, Y, and Z. Fine. Most of the time, I don't even stretch after my workouts. I just stretch before, and I make sure I do dynamic stretches that are um, similar to the movement patterns that I'm going to do. So, for example, if I'm doing a lower body session, I'll do leg swings, like side to side and up and down. Basically, actually get the things moving rather than static stretches. And then I will do warm ups personally because I do them in the gym. I do kind of more like weightlifting stuff. I will do those like 3 or 4 warm up sets building up to a weight that I'm actually going to use on the day. That's the kind of thing to do. But usually most people don't need more than like 5 minutes of stretching. You don't need to go on a bike. You don't need to do stuff. Just you need to mobilize yourself for the thing that you're going to do. Like if you're not going to use that certain muscle, what's the point in like stretching it unless you just want to do it because it feels nice. All right. No, no, no. It's a myth. It's a myth. Just like you. I've hopefully saved you 10 minutes for the next 30 years of your life. After your workouts, you don't need to do it. Like your recovery is going to be dictated by what you eat and how you sleep and the volume of your actual workout. Your body is in a state of already broken stuff down, right? Like if you are sore the next day, as an example, you could go. Let's say the classic one, you do squats. Oh my god, my bum and my legs are killing me. I can't walk up the stairs. If you go for a walk the next day and you just mobilize and move around, that'll help you get rid of some DOMs. But DOMs in themselves are not bad. You need to prepare yourself for warm ups for what's it called? For the actual thing that you're going to do. Okay, that's it, and it doesn't have to be. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I will. I will also send them to you on Tuesday morning, so don't worry. Everyone who is on the call, anyone who is on this call, gets you get my full calorie calculator with how to use it, how to adapt it to you, and you'll get all of the equations with the whys and the hows. Because I like to go a little bit technical, but short answer before then is it's BMR, which you can get online, which is your basal metabolic rate. That's what your body burns doing absolutely nothing before eating exercises. So, and then thermic effect of food, and then steps, and then workouts. It's only those four components that make up the numbers. Just use You can calculate it, but I'm just going to give you a number of 130. Just use that. You add it to the equation. You add it to the equation. That's it. All right? And I'll message you on for Tuesday. You are welcome, Sharina. Nice one. And I think I'll close with Mandy unless anyone else has got another question. If she's still there. Yep. Yep. Sure. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. No. That kind of make. Yeah. Go on. Sorry. Mhm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Sure. Yeah, no, you're right. I was just going to say, Mandy, there's a little bit of interference with your mic. I'm not sure if it was. There we go. Oh, a little bit. Yeah, it's right. It's fine. Um, yeah, on that, I would say, of course, like if you could use my ebook for just like ideas, or go onto my page if you want to. Okay, cool, nice. Yeah, okay. It'll probably answer all your questions, but the devil is going to be in the details. If you've gone from like shakes and you've just gone to like adding foods and you've picked up on the fact that you're adding some seeds, some nuts, and you've added some like sauces and dressings, that will likely be the cause of like what is kind of putting you in and out of a calorie maintenance or deficit phase, if that makes sense, right? Well, in order to curb hunger and to kind of manage that side of things, is there's some go-to snacks that I have. So, for example, I have foods that are a bit more filling, high in fiber. It depends what you're feeling. Sometimes it's a savory, sometimes it's a sweet. But having stuff like berries and raspberries, And fruit, as boring as all that sounds, is the way to go. But if you are conscious with each meal that you're getting in a good amount of fiber and a good amount of protein, that should be helping you make it to the next meal, if that makes sense, right? So it's like the prevention is the cure. So it's making sure that, okay, if I am having a sweet potato with beans and whatever, like I made a jacket potato recipe like the other day, like if you had something like that, you're going to be full, right? If you eat healthy, and sometimes you have pockets in the day where you're like, let me just, if I make something up, like you have the nuts that you have in that day sort of like as a snack, and then you have, I don't know, some rice cakes or something, like probably feels like kind of something that's quite healthy, but it's not that filling. So I try to space, just be conscious and be intentional of what is going in each meal. Another thing that can help with hunger and overall is eating with regularity will definitely help you. So if you're someone who wants to eat 3 meals a day, fine. If you want to eat 4 meals a day, that's also fine, or 6 or whatever. Just pick a routine and stick to it. I would always go 3 or more, just to make sure that it gives you an opportunity to get in the nutrients, the protein, and the fiber within each meal. But the more consistency you give your body with, in particular, sleep and nutrition, your body will just respond a lot better. So there's a few other things that you could think of there. Yeah, and I put 3 eggs. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Sure. I'd say the best place to start, if you look through my ebook, I'd be shocked if you didn't message me in a week and go, I found at least a handful of stuff that is in my that I can rotate into my daily, um, into my weekly routine. Like, you'll find absolutely something. There's loads of snacks, loads of breakfast options and lunch, and they're all interchangeable. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. If you're one thing, I don't know if you mentioned this before. So I've been my brain is half mush at 2.5 hours. No, wait, no, that's no. I'm happy to help you. Is Are you tracking your food? Are you tracking how many calories and stuff? Got it. Yeah. I strongly recommend, Mandy, that you track your food. If you, so you need to track your food with how many calories are going in. So it does require a little bit of work, but once you get used to it in the beginning, it will probably change your life, right? So let's say, for example, you have 3 eggs on toast, right, and avocado and sourdough. Just making this up, right? You would go into a tracker like MyFitnessPal, and you would type in 3 eggs, and it'll tell you how much protein, how much calorie, and you can, see the information there. And then you'd also weigh out the amount of bread that you have, or you would scan the barcodes. There's loads of easy ways to do it these days. And instead of having, just putting avocado on your plate, weigh the avocado that you are actually eating, and then it will give you a number. And then those numbers that you get, that's how you sort of track your food. So when I've been talking about like calories and finding your calories and all of that kind of stuff, when you track your food, your goal is to sort of stay within those calories. And if you stay within your goal target calories, you will get weight loss. That's the mechanism behind what is happening with Herbalife. Any shakes, between any weight loss, there is an energy deficit, and your body is pulling fat, is pulling using fat as energy. That's essentially what you need to do, which is probably a bit of a deeper. The tracking is, yeah, I've got a formula. Yeah, I put it in the chat here. It's in my ebook. It's in ebook 2. You'll see it there. Once you scroll through it, yeah, have a look there. But also, yeah, like the tracking component of it is you have to use an app like MyFitnessPal or NutriCheck or something like that. Might give you some homework to do for next week, right? And I promise you, it's a tool that if you've never done it before, it will change the way that you look at food completely. And you'll message me in a month and you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe you showed me how to do that. But you have to there is a bit of perseverance at the start, because when you start, you're like, oh my God, I have to weigh these foods and all that kind of stuff. But then you're educating yourself at the same time. And then you'll start to know, okay, those nuts that I'm adding onto my granola, that's adding on, like 300 calories I had no idea was coming from, right? And then everything is part of the equation, and it's like, that's kind of how it works. But in my coaching, we kind of like walk you through it, do it all for you. That's not to tell you to join my coaching, but it does require a little bit of, like, if you're doing it yourself and you want to make sure you get it right, YouTube it or watch some more of my videos and stuff, and it kind of tells you a bit more. Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. It's quite specific. The short answer is, like, it's probably it could be like nutrition related, but it's probably beyond the scope of answering on this call. Yeah, see, like, there's definitely food. Like, eating well definitely, like, it helps you stay full, keeps you younger, give you nutrients that your body needs to operate, and is, there's certain stuff that's good for skin and all that kind of stuff. But there's also a more than 50% chance it's probably just could be something else random, like that your doctor might tell you. So I'd see what they say first and then kind of go from there. All right. You are welcome. That's all right. That's all right. Good stuff. Thanks, Mandy. I'll fly over to Karen just in time if you got a question. She just put her hand up. I'll give you 5-10 seconds to unmute, otherwise I will start to head. There we go. I've got you, Karen. Oh, when was the last time you saw me? Did you come on a masterclass or something, or? Oh, Karen! Yes. Oh, okay. Karen, if I'm right, because I can't see the second name. Is this Karen who basically went through all my recipes in my ebook 5 times over? Yeah. Good. Excellent. How are you? Good. Yeah. Yeah. Good, 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 good. Any other like any specifics or anything else you wanted to sort of touch base on? It's good. Excellent. Yeah. Ec- yeah. No, I'm happy to hear it. It's always good to hear like people who I've worked with that they've either continued chipping away and that they've sort of maintained habits. And I remember the hubby was in the background all the time. He was going, "When's ebook 2 coming out?" Screaming at me for more recipes. Excellent. Happy to hear it. Well, you'll be happy to hear that ebook 3 will be out in like 7 weeks or something. So yeah, nice one. Good to hear from you, Karen. Excellent. Nice one. Anyone else for anything else before I go downstairs and rummage my fridge for some Greek yogurt or something? Good session today, team. Good session. I was thinking we might, as we had less people, we might have some less questions. But last time I had like loads of people and less questions. So good, very good. All right, team. In that case, I hope. Thank you for all the nice comments, and it's all here to genuinely help you. You know, like I said, I was man of my words. Stay right to the end. So if you've got any other questions or anything you want to fire across, just message me after. I'm sure I'll check my messages tomorrow morning. But had an absolute blast with you all this evening. Hope you got a ton of value. And on that note, I'll see you in some other cool, nice reels that I've got planned for you all next week. And loads of new recipes as well. So I'll see you all in the next one. And I'll catch you all later. All right. See you later, everyone.